For generations, parents have warned their children not to talk to strangers. Good advice then, good advice today. But now, a stranger doesn't have to approach your child on the street. They don't have to know where they live. They don't even have to be in the same country. They just need a phone. A message from someone who appears to be a friend, a follow request, a photograph, a conversation that seems harmless until suddenly it isn't. It's called sextortion, and it can happen remarkably fast. In this investigation, we'll meet 4 young people and the families who love them. Their stories begin in different places, under different circumstances, but each will become caught in a rapidly growing form of online exploitation. Because in the digital world, the person your child thinks they're talking to may not be who they say they are. Describe your son as best you can.
He was the only child.
He was, very kind, energetic. He always had full of energy when he was around people. He's always smiling, made friends with everybody.
Gavin was just so creative. He was very artsy. He was into comics, he was into drawing, got into skating.
How would you best describe your son, Ryan?
Was a very big people person, very outgoing, willing to help everybody.
Jordan was a friendly person. He got along with every person you can imagine. He was just that kind of guy. He just knew how to have good relationships with people.
How did he accept that role as big brother with 4 younger female siblings?
He became so close to his sisters.
He was absolutely the perfect big brother.
He was an athlete. He liked to run.
He did the 60-meter hurdles in the indoor, 110 hurdles, and the 300-meter hurdles.
I was proud of him, no matter what he did. It didn't matter if he, succeeded in one or took dead last. I didn't care. I was just happy and proud of him.
And throwing a little pop pass, that's picked off, going the other way, Jordan to me, read it perfectly.
He was a bit of a football star.
That's what he loved to do, was catch footballs.
He had a lot of activities, Future Farmers of America.
The FFA was his true love. He found that his freshman year and really fell in love with it and loved the idea of working in agriculture.
He was the older brother. Callahan, my youngest, that was his best friend. So they did everything together. Callie wanted to be just like Gavin with the skating and arts, and they played video games together. They were just best of friends.
Happy birthday, Dad. I love you.
Here. And now you record me.
Hey.
Happy Father's Day, Dad. I love you. Did you get it on camera?
Yeah, you need to put up.
He had been accepted to Washington State University in the Top Scholar program.
He was getting ready to attend the local university here, Northern Michigan University.
We were actually planning a trip for his 18th they're all graduating the next year, and we were supposed to go to Texas.
We were in the middle of doing the application so he could get started at Winthrop University. He wanted to be an art teacher. Gavin was living his best life. He was finally comfortable in who he was prior to everything happening.
What begins as a private conversation can become a calculated campaign of threats, humiliation, and fear, carried out by someone whose real identity may be hidden thousands of miles away. For the young person on the other side of that screen, the world can suddenly become very small. A bedroom, a phone, and a secret they believe they can't tell anyone. TruBlu is your home for all our new sting operations, and we thank you for being part of what we do. The special is created as a public service to highlight the dangers that your children may face. If you're a parent or know parents who may benefit from this, we urge you to share it with them and help us spread the word. Thank you.
We were poised to leave for 2 weeks on a Florida vacation that morning. All of our bags were packed, and we were gonna pick up the kids a little early from school that afternoon and head out on the road. Jennifer text messaged me that morning and just said, "Hey, is Jordan home?" And I thought that was kind of odd because typically he's gone by 7:15 typically. So I looked outside and his car was still in the driveway.
We were planning his birthday. We had booked the tour to go up at Washington State University in April. We were planning the trip and how we could work the trip in and still celebrate his birthday with his friends. Ryan is an easy child to read. You can see his emotions on him when he's upset. At 10 o'clock, he was still his normal, happy, cheerful self.
10 o'clock at night, everybody's good.
When he went to bed, there were no signs that there was anything wrong.
I was at a local political party. Afterwards, I went out with a few of the leaders. I came back, was on the phone. I was on the porch. I got in around midnight. Gavin was in his room. I'm just outside on the phone. When I walked in, I could hear Gavin in there playing his video game. Come back out, talked on the phone. I assumed that he went to bed. Matter of fact, I opened the door before I laid down, and he was just laying in the bed. I thought he was asleep, pulled the door shut, went and laid down in my bed, and I'm replying to emails.
Jordan texted me in the middle of the night, which wasn't too crazy because sometimes if he was up late and I knew he was going out of town, he told me he loved me. So I texted him back and told him to have a good day at school. And he always texts me back, but he didn't. And I texted 2 more times after that, and he didn't respond.
It's not uncommon for boys not to text their moms back right away.
Jordan did. He knew that if he didn't text me back right away, the next thing I would do is call him. He's texted me late at night before, being up gaming. Once I actually went on with my morning, got my girls ready, brought them to daycare. And when I left daycare was the last time I texted him, and he didn't respond. And I knew at that point he should have been awake. He should be responding to me. There's no reason that he wouldn't respond to me.
I was with James all morning, and I can be overbearing. I'm that mother. Earlier, I took him to a college fair. So I stayed with them for a while. We danced, we had a good time. They had the band playing. But I wanted him to talk to the recruiter. I wanted him to make the decision on where he would like to go to college. So I stepped back, and that's the last time I saw my baby alive.
About 15 minutes later, I hear the door open, and he closed it very quietly. And whenever he walked out very quietly, something just told me to get up and check on him. So I got up and I started walking down the hallway. And as I was walking up, he was coming back. He was in his underwear. He was covering up his privates. And we passed each other right in front of the bathroom. I said, "Good night, buddy, I love you." I want to say he said, "Good night, Dad, I love you," but I think he said, "I'll see you in the morning." And I walked into the living room where Dixie's laying down at, and leaned down and kissed my 5-year-old on the head. tell him goodnight. And about the time I told him goodnight, it sounded like a bowling ball coming down the wall, like taking the shelves down.
That's when I went downstairs to his bedroom, and I walked in his bedroom and I found him in his bed.
What had happened?
He shot himself in his bed.
How did you learn that he had taken his life?
A neighbor came pounding on our door because they found him. And our saving grace is that my younger son had left that morning and missed him and didn't see anything. But our neighbor found him, and we just were in shock. We had no idea.
So he left the home to...
No. He was still at home. He hung himself.
Six or so, got off work. When I came home, went upstairs, and that's when I saw what had happened. And I probably wasn't supposed to, but I did, you know, put my hands on him, you know, just seeing, you know, if there was something left that I could try to do. And the next thing I did was call her, because I didn't want to have anyone else be the bearer of this kind of news.
I yelled his name, ran to the bathroom door. I kicked open the door, and he was laying in between the tub and the toilet, and I could see the blood. Jumped down. I grabbed him. I was trying to find a wound. I couldn't find a wound. Put my hand on his artery, and I could just feel the blood leaving his body quicker than I could stop it. I couldn't find a wound. And then I started smelling the gunpowder and noticed the pistol laying to the side.
He must have had the gun with him when you saw him and passed him in the hallway.
I think he stuck it in his underwear whenever he heard me get up out of the bed. And that's the reason he was covering his privates up. By this time, wife and my 16-year-old at the time got up to run and check to see what was going on. I got up, stood in front of the door, wouldn't let them see, told them to yell, called 911. I could tell that he was gone.
He calls me and he tells me that my son is gone. And I never, ever would have thought, like, I was just with my son. I literally was just talking to him. I'll never forget our last conversation. He told me that he had a good time, and he said he was even considering joining a university. And I said, baby, I'm so proud of you. Like, I'm so proud of you. And that's the last conversation we had. So to hear that my son is gone and he's taking his whole life, I still don't understand.
Could you even comprehend what you had just seen?
No, I was in shock. I stood there for a minute and I said, why? And I couldn't breathe. And I went back upstairs, and my wife and my youngest daughter were in the living room, and I couldn't even breathe to tell them what happened. My wife thought I was having a heart attack, and I got the words, Jordan shot himself, out. And my wife almost collapsed, and my youngest daughter, who was 6, freaked out.
I just didn't understand what had happened. Something happened. This is not my son. He left my house the night before. He hugged me, he hugged my girls, and he was fine. So in my mind, it was what happened since I talked to him last.
Thoughts is what could have caused this, because we were planning his birthday. He was excited. We were complete shock because we couldn't understand what could make him do this.
The words "why" came out of my mouth as I stood at his feet that morning when I found him. It was coming out of my mouth every 30 seconds. It's like, why? What happened? Why? What is happening? What just happened?
It's a parent's worst nightmare.
Couldn't figure out why.
What the heck happened?
Was he depressed in any way?
Nah,
Nothing.
nothing that made us think anything was wrong at all.
He seemed depressed? Did he seem bothered? Did he seem anxious, upset, uptight?
No.
They weren't kids that were battling depression to begin with. And they took their life quickly. And the parents didn't know why.
Detectives called me and advised me that there had been a suicide. Suicides they happen a lot up here. But this one, he told me it was a 16-year-old boy, and that catches your attention real quick.
We initially got a call from a father who had found his son deceased. It's absolutely horrifying. I can't imagine for the family. And this came out of nowhere. Up until that day and the day before, he was making plans for his future.
Jordan DeMay did not fit the profile of an emotionally disturbed adolescent.
Not at all. You know, I know the family personally. It's a great family, a nice neighborhood, and no, he didn't. He was a great athlete. He was straight A's. He did everything right.
Ryan's case came in as a suicide. Usually the suicides go to the homicide unit, but they saw the note. The key word in the note, he said that he was extorted. So he kind of left us a clue.
The following day, detectives told me that this was some type of extortion or sextortion.
Initially, his parents gave us access to the phone, and with that access, officers on scene were able to determine that somebody had been making contact with him. Looking back through the messages, they were able to determine it had become a very aggressive, threatening sextortion scam.
There's two ways to looking at this. A traditional sextortion typically involves females. Age 10 to 17 is what we see with a traditional sextortion type case. And the difference, though, is that with a female who's being sextorted, it's usually to get sexually explicit photos.
Right, it's sexual exploitation.
It's sexual exploitation. The end is obviously with sexual gratification for the offender. For financial sextortion cases, the end is money.
A lot of it is coming from overseas.
West Africa?
Yeah. So we don't really know who's behind it.
Right now, sextortion across the country and as a society is a top priority. This is a crisis that is uncontrollable. We're seeing increase over the last couple of years with no slowing down.
Did you ever worry about Ryan's online activity, what he was doing, to whom he was talking?
No, we had the parental controls on there, and he couldn't download an app without our permission. So we thought we had it covered.
Did you have any sense that he could be vulnerable with any of his online activities?
Nah, he, cause we play video games a lot. I had access to his account. He'd be online playing. I'd go down there and I'd play with him. I sit there and listen to all them talk, just to hear what's going on. And they're just kids. They're doing the normal stuff that you expect kids to do, sitting there talking trash to each other, playing games. Nothing that drew any kind of concern whatsoever.
We spent a lot of time monitoring his phone, I had every app you can imagine on his phone to lock it down and shut it down and keep stuff off of it. But he was 6 weeks away from being 18 years old. We didn't worry about that stuff much anymore. You know, he was an amazing kid. He came home every night on time. He was respectful. He was a good student. You know, he was well on his way to being an adult.
He's a very responsible young man, and we trusted him with everything because he was honest with us about his plans.
You did more than 99.9% of American parents do to make sure your son was safe online.
I was on his Instagram. There weren't many posts. We saw what he did, and most of the time it was just communicating with his friends. I had no concerns because I saw who he was hanging out with, and they were all great kids. And that's the scary part, that we had all those in place and it still happened. I didn't know these type of scams existed. You hear about some scams, but I didn't realize that they could actually touch my son.
How soon after Jordan's death until you started to hear what might have been behind it?
On day 2, that there was a picture that had been sent to a friend. And that friend came forward with that picture. And that was the moment that all those giant question marks went away. As soon as I heard about that is when I realized this is what's going on. That was almost a weight that lifted off my shoulders because it was the beginning of an answer maybe. And as we pushed forward a little bit, contacted law enforcement right away, and you know, they took the ball and ran with it.
And that's when the officer started, I just say, following the breadcrumbs.
The original message that went out through a fake account, it was a young lady.
So he was initially contacted on Instagram by a woman.
It appears the girl contacted him.
They pretended to be a young girl.
And what he thought was a young lady just reaching out, being friendly.
There was a attraction there, you know, they were flirting with each other.
From what we understand, it starts out innocently.
And then she come back and said something about how cute he was.
And she told him, hey, you know, you're a good looking guy too.
He truly believed he was speaking to a young girl.
And eventually
they, you know, started exchanging personal videos of each other.
They sent him a picture and asked for one in return.
Jordan sent a picture of himself.
So he sent one.
It just went downhill from there.
As soon as they got that, they demanded $5,000 from him.
They started to extort him.
Then the extortion part happened and the threats.
They told him they'll ruin his life. He'll never have a future, never be able to get a job.
He truly believed that they would ruin his life.
Yeah, they were gonna send his video and pictures out to everybody on his friends list.
They were going to send this to everybody.
He couldn't see past the threat that they would post these.
They actually went as far as to make fake collages. They would take friends and family off of Facebook and they would build picture collages with my wife and his friends' mothers and Jennifer and put his picture that he sent to her right in the middle of it. So we're gonna send this to everybody.
Eventually he ended up paying about $150.
$300.
$25.
Took all of his cash, all his gift cards.
But as soon as they got that money, they realized there was some money. And then they refused to stop pressuring him. And so they continued to pressure him until he felt he had no choice but to take his life.
And Gavin said that if you sent theirs out, I was going to end it all right now.
The scammer said to Jordan are particularly upsetting, I think, because they're so well honed and targeted. Are you going to cooperate with me? Just pay me right now, and I won't expose you. Jordan, how much? $1,000. Paid $300. More threats are made. They say goodbye. Enjoy your miserable life. Your son says, I'm killing myself right now because of you. Good. Do that fast or I'll make you do it. What do you think the final straw was here for him? Why he thought there was no way out other than to take his own life?
I believe that it's because they target this specific type of person. Jordan was one of the most popular kids in high school. He was the athlete. He was 6'2". He was amazingly handsome. He had everything you could ever imagine. His whole life was there. And they know that. They feed on those people. And when you're 17, 18 years old, and they're threatening to take away that life that he knows today, he couldn't bear it.
He couldn't see that he would be able to move on from it. And I know a lot of him is, he cared what people thought and what people would think that these were posted. I mean, he was ready to go to college. He was afraid of what would happen. And he couldn't think. It's a mistake, we'll move on. But he was so scared he couldn't see past how to fix it.
What we didn't realize is that wasn't his life. That was a moment in his life. And as we grow older and we go through other life experiences and have families and all these things, those things in high school are distant memories for most people. But at that moment, it was not. That was Jordan DeMay's life that was over because he made a horrible mistake.
When you can't pay, then they just start ramping up the stress. And that's what then spirals out of control. And unfortunately, the kids don't feel like they have a way out. There's no one to talk to. They're going through the stress. And we're seeing an increase in suicides.
He thought he could fix it.
He was doing what he could.
His last,
He didn't want us to know.
No, his last Google search was how to get a page shut down.
What does that tell you?
He was trying to figure it out.
He was.
But at the same time, it also shows that he was too ashamed or embarrassed to come to us about it. And that's what cost him.
He was afraid that he disappointed us, that he apologized for being stupid. I'm sorry that I wasn't smart enough. But it wasn't that he wasn't smart enough, he just trusted the wrong person. He was a kid, he truly believed that they would ruin his life, that if these pictures got out, it would hurt us. Even in his note goodbye, he wanted us to, he wanted me to tell all his friends how much he loved them, and he was just sorry for making a mistake. But he had to have known that we wouldn't have cared, but he at that time was just too scared to process it completely.
The purpose for the offenders is to get that stress level up, that they're leveraging shame and embarrassment. Unfortunately, what we're seeing is a lot of these youth are trying to handle this situation in a vacuum, right? They don't want to tell an adult. They're too embarrassed. They don't want to tell their friends.
I think whenever you're transitioning from that teenage stage into adulthood, you've got this image in your mind that everyone has it all figured out and you feel less than regardless. Then to have something like this kicking off as he's going into college, after he had just come back from a Christian camp and had given his life to Christ, and to fall into this, I think the thought process of everyone looking at him like a hypocrite, to just the pure shame of trying to hide that. The majority of cases of suicide are impulsive. And I think in that moment, it was just such an impulsive decision. Like, I don't even want to deal with this. He didn't want to face Monday. He didn't want to have to wait until Monday and imagine going through the stress of dealing with that.
And you were able to figure this out because you had the code to his phone.
Yeah.
There were no secrets in this family.
No.
No.
And this whole deal went down in less than 24 hours.
Yes.
19 and a half hours was the total time.
They reached out at roughly 6. By 2, it was over. Literally, it was an 8-hour period.
I don't think that he was planning on doing it. He started getting extorted at midnight. He jumped off a game with his friends to start on this chat with what he thought was a female at midnight. And at 1:40 was time that he had shot himself.
The whole thing in an hour and 40 minutes.
Yes.
I can't imagine.
I wouldn't want you to.
A piece of our heart is gone. It'll never be whole again.
I wake up in the middle of the night, around the time when he last texted me. I expect him to come walking through my front door still.
I have my ups and downs because there's days I still have a hard time accepting that I'm not going to get out of bed and that he's not going to be there.
I still fight with depression, but I've learned it's okay to not be okay. You know, my youngest son daily questions about G, which is what he called her, of why his brother's gone.
Okay, you're rolling, okay? Now,
You gotta pop it,
you're gonna pop and flop. Lock that foot down.
pop it. There you go. Crack it down. All right.
Almost got it.
Never think it'll happen to you. And I honestly would never understand what another parent felt like had I not gone through this myself.
Probably sports, obviously, it's one. And then all the people that I've met and got close with throughout the years.
Never would have thought that on his 19th birthday I would wake up and go to the cemetery. I think the biggest thing that bothers me most is that they had the ability to do it. It's mind-numbing that you can go onto a social media platform with fake everything and come into my house where my doors are locked, where I live in a community where I don't have to lock my doors if I don't need to, and come into my home in the middle of the night while we're all sleeping and murder my son.
Ultimately, we turned it over to the feds once we found out that it was out of the country.
The key was being able to tie the digital footprint together. The FBI is really good at that, and we're able to follow those digital crumbs to figure out who was behind that keyboard, who were the offenders that were engaged that night to force Jordan into a position of helplessness and hopelessness to take his life. All the electronic evidence pointed to Nigeria.
These cases are notoriously difficult to investigate. The criminals often operating a half a world away in West Africa. But you got a break on this one.
We just followed the money trail because there was a big money trail. There was money that was sent, so we knew where it went to. What we're having now is, we call them money mules. and they are bad actors on the state side. And they basically are the middleman for receiving the money and then transferring the money to the other country.
Typically, how does this work? The person posing as the girl, is that person in West Africa?
Yes. Usually the chatter and the money mule are completely separate.
When all this happened, we went online, pulled up the phone records, saw who he was contacting and who was contacting him. And we came across a number that, just jumped out at us. So we contacted the number. Then they started trying to ask us, for money.
The person that was extorting my son continued to extort my 14-year-old cousin, my 16-year-old son, and then myself. They were saying that they were Gavin's online girlfriend and that they were in trouble and just needing help. These sextortionists send images of the home that they pull from Google Earth to make the kids feel like they know exactly where they live. And luckily at that time, I started looking at his messages and started seeing, and they even sent images of Gavin to his brother.
Yeah, they sent us a picture of James, his private part. And they were like, you need to send us money now or we'll upload this all to every social media site. And we were like, well, wait, just call us, call us, let's talk it out. And they called us,
but they wouldn't speak.
It was like a cough. I was like, well, I'll send you money. I said, give me your Cash App. And that's when they sent us the Cash App because we didn't want them to know that James had passed.
You're trying to track him down?
Yeah.
Because if they could give us anything to where we could connect and contact with them and whatnot, the police could too.
We've been very fortunate to have contacts with a lot of the federal agencies that have a broader range of investigative powers with this. We're a small local agency, but to track the financials, which are going global, is not something that we really have the capabilities of doing. So the FBI, Homeland Security, ICAC, Internet Crimes Against Children, and NECMEC all have their analysts that work on following this. In our particular case, Homeland Security is trying to track the funds to see specifically where they're going and how they're getting there.
Given the fact that the people behind the sextortion plot are in West Africa, most likely, what are the odds of actually charging somebody with causing the death of this young man so tragically?
The odds are pretty low. Do I think the man that was on the other end of those messages is going to pay any consequences for this? Unfortunately, I don't. I wish that wasn't the case, but dealing with a global market, so to speak, it just makes it all the more difficult.
You go back a few years, I think as a law enforcement community, when we saw that the IP addresses and the digital footprint was over the pond, so to speak, the investigation stopped. FBI Michigan really just took the extra step, able to work with our partners overseas, especially the Nigerians. And when we went over there to Nigeria and laid out our investigation, they were able to add so much more to it as well in order to get where we are today.
Today, I'm announcing multiple criminal charges against 3 Nigerian nationals who ran an international sextortion ring.
What was the break in the case?
Well, the break in the case was just all the returns that we got back from all the different companies. There was a lot of platforms that had information, and because when you're using electronics, you leave evidence everywhere. My detectives worked on this case for 10 months. When you work a case that long on a case like this, and then you're actually there, and there's your guy, and you're putting the handcuffs on him, and that's kind of why we do the job.
San Jose police have arrested a 25-year-old Reseda man for his involvement in the death of 17-year-old Ryan Last.
In this case, the San Jose Police Department was able to make a case against a money mule in the state of California who's been arrested, who's now facing charges. The charges involve financial crimes.
I just am glad that somebody can be held responsible, because I know truly if it wasn't for this scam, my son would be in college now. He would be enjoying his life and experiencing a lot of new things. And I also hope that this arrest sets a precedent, and hopefully it can deter people from continuing these type of crimes.
There are other people involved here, other people who may not be held accountable.
It's very frustrating. You know, we always like to, get all the players involved, and it may still happen. We're not just because he's in custody doesn't mean our investigation, stops. We want the chatter. We want the guy who started this whole thing.
3 years later, Alfred Cassie, Amoro Udrago, Musa Diaby, and Umar Cisse were arrested in the Ivory Coast. The U.S. does not have an extradition treaty with the Ivory Coast, so they will not be brought to the United States to face charges. But the 4 men have been charged with crimes tied to an international sextortion and money laundering scheme in the Ivory Coast.
If these 3 suspects are extradited to face charges in the United States, what will that represent?
I think it's going to represent hope.
These culprits, sextortionists, have actually been extradited from Nigeria to Michigan to face charges in your son's death.
It's amazing that they were able to bring these individuals here, and we get to see who actually spoke to our son. But it's never going to be closure for us. It's just another way to provide the fire behind us to spread Jordan's story and share his legacy.
To see those words in the transcript when Jordan said, "I'm going to kill myself right now because of you," and in that transcript they said, "Good, go ahead, or we're going to make you do it." When I heard those words for the first time and then saw the people that are alleged to have said that and put those 2 together, was heartbreaking.
Our whole office was ecstatic because, like everyone else, once it leaves the United States, this is the first time that they've gotten people for this.
The days of realizing that the crime is taking place overseas and just ignoring it and closing the case because it's too far away, those days are over. We have the blueprint. Jordan's case is proof of it.
Samuel Ogashi and Samson Ogashi, brothers from Lagos, Nigeria, were sentenced to 17.5 years in federal prison for their role in the extortion of Jordan DeMay. A third man, Ezekiel Robert, charged for his role in the extortion of Jordan, is awaiting extradition in Nigeria.
I'm hopeful that all of these cases can be solved.
Nigerian man accused of causing a South Carolina teen to die by suicide has been extradited to the U.S.
Hassan Bunhassin Ablor Lawal was extradited from Nigeria to the U.S. in January of 2025 to face charges related to the extortion and death of Gavin Guffey.
As a father sitting across from you, I can't tell you that I could survive this the way you do.
You got 3 options. You can sit in the corner and be a basket case. You can sit here and be angry at the world, or you can get up and do something about it.
I can't save my son anymore. So I think about helping other kids and parents in this situation.
I can only honor him by trying to help other kids, because this is something that shouldn't happen to any family.
Early on, they came up with an idea of trying to bring Pauline into our program, and she immediately said yes.
After this profound loss, you have managed to find the strength to reach out to other parents.
I tell him Ryan's story, And the one thing I stress is we never thought something like this could reach us, but it can. So I want them to see that this could happen to anyone.
To me, I lost the battle with my son. So my goal is to keep this from happening to other kids and to other families. The first thing I did prior to even taking my first day in office is I already had a bill filed to make sextortion a law in South Carolina. We came up to 20 years if you're extorting a minor or an at-risk adult. And then if there is great bodily harm or death as a result, that's an additional up to 20 years. One of the things that we did on the bill was we required the Department of Education, the Attorney General's office, to work together to educate the public annually on Gavin's Law. So that alone, awareness, is the majority of the battle. And one of the stats that I've seen is one out of 6 teens under the age of 17 have shared explicit images. We set up the nonprofit. The primary goal was to start in South Carolina and start going around to all these schools and churches and start educating people.
Gavin did not leave a note.
No. He sent out a less than 3 sign, which looks like a heart, on a black screen to some of his friends on Instagram and Snapchat. We ended up naming the nonprofit Less Than 3 as well, because I found out it has a dual meaning. Whenever I started studying mental health, that the majority of suicides are impulsive. The time someone makes the decision to the time someone commits the act is typically 20 minutes, but if there's a gun involved, it's less than 3 minutes.
We have to tell our kids to be open. We've all done stupid stuff before, and it's okay. You know, a lot of kids, they try to hide things so that they don't get in trouble or disappointment or embarrassment from the parents. It's okay. It's okay. Like, we will get through this. We will get through it. But please, like, we are begging, like, please open up to us.
In 2022, Tim and Tamia Woods founded the Do It for James Foundation, a nonprofit that focuses on educating people about sextortion.
No matter how hard it is, we have to be vulnerable. We can save our kids' lives.
If you or someone you know becomes a victim of sextortion, do not pay. And do not send any additional images or videos. Save the messages, usernames, threats, and payment requests as evidence. Then stop communicating with the offender and block the account. Report the account to the platform where the contact occurred and report the crime to local law enforcement or the FBI. If the victim is under 18, also report the incident to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC. Most important, remember, you are the victim of a crime, and you don't have to face it alone.